The scariest car in the parking lot might not have flames painted on the hood. It might not have a wing taller than the roof. It might not be the car revving its engine just to make sure everybody hears it coming. It might be the quiet one parked in the back row that nobody even looked at twice, the one that looked like it belonged to somebody's accountant, the one that looked like it had never broken a speed limit in its entire life. Nobody looked at that car and thought, that thing is about to ruin my night. And that was the mistake. Because some of the most dangerous cars ever built were built to look weak on purpose. Every car has a story. Every racer has a claim. Every legend has a lie. And today we are talking about 5 cars that looked weak but ate muscle cars alive, cars that wore the disguise of boring so well that even people who loved cars walked right past them without a second glance, right up until the moment those cars proved them wrong in the worst possible way. Because here is the truth nobody wants to admit. Looking dangerous and being dangerous are 2 completely different things. A car with stripes and a hood scoop is expected to be fast. Nobody is impressed when a car built to look fast is actually fast. That is just following the script. But a car built to look slow, a car built to look sensible, a car built to look like it belongs in a school pickup line, that car breaks the script completely. And when that car turns out to be faster than the thing sitting next to it at the light, something happens that stripes and spoilers can never create. Real embarrassment. The kind you do not forget. The kind that follows you home. So buckle up, because these 5 cars all looked weak, and every single one of them made somebody regret laughing first. The first car that looked weak but ate muscle cars alive is the Buick Grand National. Say the word Buick to almost anyone, and you get the same picture in their head. A quiet car for quiet people. A car for grandparents driving to church on Sunday. A car built for comfort, not for speed, a car that whispers instead of shouts. Buick spent decades building that reputation, and by the 1980s, everybody believed it completely. So when Buick rolled out a Regal painted completely black, no chrome, no flash, no attitude on the outside at all, nobody thought twice. It looked like a funeral car. It looked like the most boring vehicle on the entire lot. And that was exactly the point, because underneath that plain black body was a turbocharged V6 that Buick had quietly been perfecting, an engine that did not care what anybody expected from a Buick. The Grand National did not look fast. It did not sound like a threat sitting at idle. But when that turbo spooled up, it walked away from Camaros. It walked away from Mustangs. It walked away from Corvettes, the car that was supposed to be the fastest thing in America that year. Picture the look on somebody's face in a brand new Corvette, revving next to what looks like their uncle's sedate family car, laughing right up until the light turns green and that black Buick disappears into the distance like it insulted their whole bloodline. That is not just losing a race. That is losing your identity for a few seconds. Because you can lose to a Ferrari and still have a story to tell. But losing to a car that looks like it should be parked outside a retirement home, that is the kind of loss people bring up at your funeral. But Buick was not finished. They pushed that same sleeper formula further with the GNX, a car so quick in a straight line that some tests clocked it faster than a Ferrari Testarossa, one of the most exotic cars money could buy at the time. A car that looked like it belonged in a grandmother's driveway was quicker than a car with a price tag that could buy 3 houses. That is not an accident. That is a company deciding on purpose to hide a monster inside the most harmless-looking shell they could find, because the harmless shell was the whole strategy. The second car that looked weak but ate muscle cars alive is the Plymouth Roadrunner. Now this one is almost funny, because Plymouth did not even try to make it look expensive or special. The Roadrunner was built to be cheap. It had a cartoon bird on the side. It had a horn that literally went beep beep like the Looney Tunes character it was named after. It had rubber floor mats instead of carpet in some versions. It looked like a budget car for people who could not afford anything nicer, a stripped-down machine with no frills and honestly, kind of a goofy personality. People looked at the Roadrunner and assumed it was a joke, a car built for teenagers who wanted the name of a muscle car without the price tag of one. And that assumption was the trap, because underneath that cheap-looking body, Plymouth dropped some of the biggest, angriest engines in the entire muscle car era, engines borrowed straight from cars that cost far more money and carried far more prestige. The same 446-pack. The same legendary Hemi that powered cars people worshipped. Plymouth took that fire-breathing hardware and put it inside the cheapest, most unassuming body they had, and the result was a car that could outdrag machines that cost twice as much and looked twice as intimidating. Somebody in a brand new, fully loaded muscle car with all the badges and all the attitude would line up next to a road runner and genuinely believe they were about to have an easy night. And then the light would turn green, and that cartoon bird would be gone, leaving nothing behind but the sound of beep beep and a very confused driver wondering how a car with rubber floor mats just humiliated them in front of everybody watching. If you are starting to notice a pattern here, you are exactly right, and it only gets crazier from here. The third car that looked weak but ate muscle cars alive is the Mercury Marauder. Picture a big, quiet, full-size sedan, the kind of car built for long highway drives and comfortable retirement, based on the same platform as the Grand Marquis, a car practically designed to be invisible on the road. Nobody feared a Marauder. Nobody even noticed a Marauder. It looked like a rental car. It looked like something a tired traveling salesman would drive between meetings. But Mercury took that sleepy platform and dropped in a modified engine borrowed from the world of Mustang Cobras, tuned it, tightened the suspension, and quietly built one of the most underrated sleepers of the early 2000s. It still looked like a boring, big black sedan. It still sounded almost ordinary sitting at a red light. But when the driver put their foot down, that big black sedan pulled like something completely different, catching sports cars off guard who never once considered a full-sized family sedan as a threat worth watching. The embarrassment here hits different, because losing to a sports car makes sense. Losing to what looks like your dentist's company car does not. Now wait until you hear what happened when police departments got involved. The fourth car that looked weak but ate muscle cars alive is the Chevrolet Caprice, specifically the police package version built for law enforcement pursuit duty. On the surface, this looks like the most boring car imaginable, a big, heavy, plain sedan with vinyl seats and a Spartan interior, built to survive years of abuse rather than impress anyone. Nobody cross-shopped a Caprice against a sports car. Nobody stood next to one at a car show. But because it needed to chase down criminals in real high-speed situations, Chevrolet quietly built the Caprice 9C1 with a genuinely potent V8, tighter suspension, upgraded brakes, and a drivetrain that could actually keep pace with cars that looked far more serious. Civilians eventually got their hands on these same engines and platforms through performance trims, and the result was a heavy, unassuming sedan that could run with cars costing far more money and wearing far flashier badges. Imagine pulling up next to what looks like an ordinary sedan, maybe even mistaking it for an unmarked police car and feeling nervous for a completely different reason, only to have it launch off the line and stay glued to your bumper the entire way down the strip. That kind of shock does not fade quickly. It follows you into every conversation you have about that night for years. Stick around, because the last car on this list flips the entire formula upside down. The fifth car that looked weak but ate muscle cars alive is the Dodge Neon SRT4. This one barely looks like a performance car at all. It is small. It is cheap. It has plastic bumpers and an interior that feels like an economy rental, the kind of car students bought because it was affordable, not because it was exciting. People saw a neon in traffic and felt absolutely nothing, no fear, no curiosity, not even a passing glance, because nothing about a compact economy car built on a budget screams danger. But Dodge took that humble little shell and stuffed a genuinely powerful turbocharged engine inside it, an engine that punched dramatically above its weight class and could genuinely hang with cars several times its price and reputation. Suddenly you had grown men in expensive Mustangs and Camaros lining up next to what looked like somebody's first car, laughing right up until that little neon launched off the line and refused to let go. Losing to a car with racing stripes stings for a moment. Losing to a car that looks like a grocery run vehicle follows you home. Now here is the honest truth behind all 5 of these cars, because it would be easy to walk away from this thinking every boring-looking car secretly hides a monster, and that is simply not accurate. Most plain-looking cars are exactly what they appear to be: practical, comfortable, built for everyday life rather than any kind of performance. That honesty is actually what makes these 5 so unforgettable, because they broke the pattern on purpose. A car covered in stripes and scoops is expected to perform. Nobody is shocked when a Corvette is fast. But a car intentionally built to look invisible, a car engineered specifically to lower expectations before shattering them completely, that combination creates a very specific kind of legend. It is not just about winning a race. It is about winning against everything somebody assumed the moment they saw you. And this exact idea is still alive today, maybe even more than ever. Walk through any modern car meet and you will hear the same excitement about a plain-looking sedan hiding a swapped engine, a stock-looking truck that quietly outruns sports cars, a completely unassuming daily driver that turns into a monster the second the light goes green. Social media loves nothing more than the moment somebody underestimates a sleeper and gets absolutely destroyed for it. These 5 cars were doing that decades before anyone had a camera ready to capture the moment, decades before anyone even had a word for it. They simply understood one basic rule of speed that never goes out of style. Never judge a car before the light turns green, because the vehicle sitting next to you doing absolutely nothing threatening might be counting down the seconds until it changes your entire night. So the next time you see a plain sedan, a boring wagon, a cheap-looking economy car sitting quietly at a red light, do not laugh too quickly, and do not assume you already know how the story ends. That car might be exactly what it looks like. Or it might be something else entirely. Something built specifically to make you feel safe right before it makes you feel very, very small. Every car has a story. Every racer has a claim. Every legend has a lie. And these 5 cars prove that the most dangerous lie in automotive history was ever believing that weak was the same thing as slow.